Okay. I am live. I'm live for real this time. And you can hear me because I can hear me. Nice. So, what is going on? Nobody's here. I'm talking to myself like a weirdo. Tell you, the shit is crazy though. Kanye West walking out of the Tim Pool podcast. That guy needs more people to tell him no. I think Kanye West, he's just like, you know, he's misunderstood. He's misunderstood. Right? It is pretty. What am I doing here? Um, let's just hold these weights. It'll make me feel better being on camera. I'll just hold them. Um, yeah, Kanye needs some people that are willing to tell him no because he keeps putting himself in these situations where like he just has no connection to the reality of what's actually happening. Maybe I shouldn't just be shitting on Kanye West on a live stream. That could be something. I'm not shitting on him. I think he needs better friends. It's funny. Everybody needs better friends, better advisors, better counselors, but you can't really trust anyone, especially when you've already made it. So it's hard to get that. What else is going on? BlockFi is bankrupt. We all knew that was going to happen. We'll see what happens with crypto.com. Really have no idea. But BlockFi, I guess, was already underwater a little bit from the Luna meltdown this summer. Lots of lessons in this economic downturn. One of my biggest lessons with crypto recently has been how much leverage there is in the system. And you have these people like Anthony Pompliano or whatever, Pomp, as they call him, talking about how we have more buyers than ever. And it's like the golden age of crypto. And, I've been in this for well over 10 years, not well over, but over 10 years. And I don't think we're in the golden age of crypto. I think that crypto went mainstream a little bit too early and then popped. And the reason for that is because, well, there are many and varied, but the reason that matters in our discussion that it went mainstream and it popped. Yeah, it's just not providing enough value to people. It's still so speculative, and people see it as a get rich quick scheme. I got to be honest, all this like yield farming, all these like it feels like the ICO craze of 2017 where like everybody had a coin and you were a dummy if you hadn't made one yet. And a lot of that seems similar where people are like offering like 10% plus yield. And the way that they're offering that is through extreme risk. And then you find out all of the incestuous shit that's been happening in these tech companies, in these not fintech, crypto, in these crypto tech companies or whatever, in these crypto companies. What is incestuous? So they're like creating their own tokens, right? And then they're like swapping their tokens and using those to borrow cash in the real world economy. And so now this is starting to make sense. Like when I first bought Bitcoin for like, I don't know, 20 bucks, like even $100, even when I first bought it for like a big buy was like 800 or 1200. Like for a long time, my cost basis was below 1,000 for sure. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm saying. None of that even matters. Bitcoin needs to provide more value. Is there anyone in this chat? Fuck. Be helpful if I could just have people in the chat and then they could tell me how to get back on track, you know? But point is, you have these companies like swapping coins with each other and like taking real collateralizing their fake tokens with and getting real money from the real economy. And it kind of makes sense how crypto. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. So Bitcoin, I thought maybe we'd see a $10,000 Bitcoin in my lifetime. Like you think it's something you're going to pass on to your kids, and you don't really think of it as something that could be ever worth like $20,000 is fucking crazy. I don't know. Maybe I had a naive understanding of it in terms of two things. One, there's truly a limited supply, and that monetary, that's the foundation of the network, and so that policy will never change. And also, I think I underestimated, despite my own foibles, how easy it is to burn Bitcoin, and how the OGs they'd slip out of their hands, they'd like gamble them away, or they'd like forget the password or whatever. And because it was all just nerd money for so long. And it only became really important recently. But yeah, I think we got into a virtuous feedback cycle. And actually, I think the Fed created it. So the Fed is just injecting money into the system for what, a decade? Was it like post 2008 when all that started? I don't really know. But forever, however long, the Fed has just been funneling money into the system. And then you get crypto right around that time. It would have been right around that time when the economy got better, 2010, 2012. um, and that whole time, it has been able to take advantage of the free money from the Fed, but all that is stopped now. And we are in this new, possibly age of higher interest rates for maybe some years. Who really knows? But the point is, you got the Fed printing cash, and that's injecting money into the system, and tech stocks and Bitcoin and everything is just exploding. And then at the same time, you have these companies inventing their own Chuck E. Cheese tokens, the FTT token, FTX, come on. And then they're like buying and purchasing other companies for like m- completely made up values, completely made up values. And so, for example, part of how FTX collapsed is CZ, the CEO of Binance, basically saw how overexposed they were and over leveraged on their own internal token, which he had been paid in a buyout. Like he was an early seed investor or whatever. He was an early investor in FTX, and then later FTX purchased their ownership back, which is fucking crazy because then they lost it. But they did. And in that purchase, part of the payment was these FTT tokens. And so they use that. And it just shows you how incestuous all this is. These companies are just printing tokens and then mixing them all up, and attributing real value to them, billions of dollars of value. Now crypto's starting to make sense. And so you got these people like Pomp is on CNBC, and he's like, the price of Bitcoin, it's blah 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 blah. We could see a $4,000 Bitcoin easy, easy. I when grown men cry, that's when you buy. And we're not there. They're not crying. They got to be sobbing first. They got to be sobbing. We're not there yet. So hopefully you guys bought some houses or something when you had your crypto, or you're like a super mega OG and you're all set, and you don't have to worry about it. But I think that there could be an immense amount of leverage in the crypto system still. And who knows? I mean, there is a possibility that this FTX event is the bottom, right? This marks the bottom, and we'll have like this sharp recovery. I'm all for it, right? I want to see the $100 Bitcoin more than anyone, especially right now. And so that'd be great. It's not going to happen because trust has been destroyed. So crypto is like nerd money for time in all of history. And then the first thing it does when it goes mainstream is be shown to be a giant mismanaged fraud. I mean, the fact that Sam Bankman Fried gets any airtime right now is absurd. It's absurd that he's not just in jail. I'm I it really just shows you, like you can buy a lot of privileges in this world. And that is why you should make as much money and keep as much money as you possibly can, because of all the privileges it can buy you. He has bought a lot of political favors, and then he's cashing those in right now. And so he's hanging out in the Bahamas, and he just had this phone interview with what's her name? Tiffany, I think. She's like a crypto self reporter. What do you call it? Amateur reporter. I don't know what she does. But she had a great interview with him where she basically drilled in and asked him some pretty good questions, And his laissez-faire, is that a word? Like his like nonchalant attitude towards all this, it's not even disturbing. It's like, okay, that's a lot of Adderall. That's a lot of Adderall. And he does have this attitude that, so first of all, he starts talking about like how his biggest mistake is filing for Chapter 11. Your biggest mistake was stealing $4 billion of other people's money. As far as I can tell, here's what happened to FTX. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. But as far as I can tell, here's what happened. If I went to buy Bitcoin on FTX, they didn't even buy the Bitcoin. So, like, let's say I buy 10 grand of Bitcoin on FTX. They take that 10 grand and they buy IOUs. I guess it's called paper Bitcoin. I guess it's like a highly discounted or some leverage thing, basically, that they're going to have Bitcoin. As far as I can tell, FTX held zero Bitcoin. So who knows what the fuck was happening with that? How is it possible for somebody to buy Bitcoin on your company's platform and you don't hold any Bitcoin? So that's shady as fuck. And then not only did you not just like take that 10 grand and put it in the bank, you sent it to a third party that was doing high volume leveraged trading in crypto during a market crisis while Putin was invading Ukraine. You fucking idiot. God, that's what makes me think a lot of this has to be drug related, because maybe I'm getting this all wrong, but as far as I can tell, Sam Bankman Fried is, he's about to be, is a liar, and basically is he spent a lot of money to get a lot of political connections that he's now cashing in, and he really has just fucked everyone over. And maybe he can claim like he was naive in some way or whatever, but that guy's got to go to jail. He's got to go to jail or something. He can't go on CNBC. That's crazy. That's crazy. And so in this podcast episode, or this interview that Tiffany did with him just like yesterday, she just posted it online. Uh yeah, so they talk about a bunch of stuff like that the people in the Bahamas could exit their crypto first. One of the things he said that's just crazy is that he has $4 billion in standing by to inject that liquidity or whatever, to inject that money back into the company and save them from bankruptcy. And if only he hadn't filed Chapter 11, then none of this would be happening, and he would already have that 4 billion. First of all, I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe he has 250 million. I think whatever he has is in fake fucking tokens, and it's more FTC or whatever. You know, he made up another token. Like of USD cash, nobody has $4 billion in cash anymore. Like the government is taking the money out of the system. Everyone is cash poor unless you happen to build a little bit of a cash machine, and then you're fine. But as far as like all the free money for investors and, you know, all that shit, it's gone. Those days are over. And so now we're in this new regime. And I think then you got people like Pomp, and he's on CNBC, and he's telling people there has never been more buyers of Bitcoin. Dude, the price could fall in half, and then fall in half, and then fall in half. And if you don't believe that, you haven't rode those waves. I'm telling you, I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like. Um, and we're not there. So like, so the question in my mind is, okay, so maybe this FTX marks the bottom, and sentiment will, it's impossible. There is zero trust, and contagion will spread. The price of Bitcoin is going to come down, and I think it has to break 10,000. That's based off nothing other than how can anyone have any confidence in crypto right now? Um, I'm here for the Cryptopia, and I don't want to spread FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But oh God, nobody's listening. Fuck. Okay. Well, I thought the thumbnail would help, but I've been ranting to myself the whole time. Whatever. So anyway, let's keep ranting. Yeah, I think that Bitcoin could be in trouble and the entire crypto market could basically collapse for a few reasons. One, if we really are on this new interest rate regime, then who knows what that environment is going to look like for tech stocks, for high risk assets, and for crypto land. Who knows? It's been 10 years and the world is crazy. There's so many threats out there. And I think that until all of those threats are solved, inflation, Russia and Ukraine, fucking woke nonsense. I don't know, whatever. The real problems are inflation and the war in Ukraine. Until we have absolute clarity on both of those, I think the market is going to suffer. And then crypto has a third contingent, which I believe we need regulation. Another thing that Pomp said, which is makes me think that I've never paid a ton of close attention to him, but he's talking about how there's already regulation. There's obviously not enough regulation, right? Like, by definition, there's not enough regulation. And the leaders of the industry know this. Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, is constantly trying to push and work with regulators and to help drive mainstream adoption of crypto because investors need confidence. We have confidence in our banks because of insurance, FICT or whatever, and the same exists for investments, SIPC, whatever it is. And so we've figured out as a financially advanced society all these different rules and regulations that need to be in place. This is why you never want to destroy the government because all that was so hard earned. But we have earned it and we figured it out. And now it's time to do the same thing with crypto and get some real regulation in there in terms of you can't like just take somebody's money, tell them that they own Bitcoin, buy an IOU for Bitcoin, then take that money, send it to a third party so they can do high leverage derivative crypto volume trading bullshit with your fucking money. So that's why we need regulation. God. The people that have a voice, it's insane. Um, and so, yeah, like I think it's actually going to be a real hard time for crypto for the next 6 months to maybe 18 months to 24 months. Who knows? The thing that's going to revive the Fed is clarity, or the stock market is clarity on inflation and the war in Ukraine. And when Fed is going to turn on the money printer is going to be the real party. And so stay tuned for that because now it's often it hasn't been for a decade. And then what crypto land needs is all that plus regulation. 5 years, I don't know. It's not 6 months. And so in the previous crashes, like that made me crap my pants was I can't even remember the numbers exactly. You can look it up, but it was around when it hit 1200. And then I swear to God, I'm pretty sure it crashed down to like 79 for an hour, the longest hour of your life, longest hour of your life. But then I think in general, it like crashed down to like 300 or 250 or something like that. But there was a deep, deep red candle one day. And we have not had that event for crypto. It has just been languishing. And what I think is really happening is the long term believers aren't selling. They really are just like their crypto is in cold storage and, they've got it triple sig wallet, whatever, protected with multiple keys and bullshit. And they're not worried about any of these exchanges because they're not even a part of that system, I guess. And so what I think is causing downward price pressure is you have everyone else that doesn't have their crypto in cold storage, but they just bought it on an exchange and maybe they use leverage to buy it. And so now they're being forced, or they took loans against their crypto. And as the price comes down, they're being forced to liquidate. And so I think that basically as leverage drains out of the system, that's going to cause a constant downward price pressure. And the real driver of Bitcoin into bargain prices is going to be how deep is the contagion from FTX? Because right now it's not bad at all, right? Like BlockFi was already going to go bust this summer from the Luna collapse, and they did a Hail Mary pass or a saving throw or whatever. They figured it out. And then this one nuked them, this one popped them. And that was the same thing with FTX. But the contagion risk with SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, and FTX is a lot higher because of this basically buying spree that he went on. A lot of people have talked about this, where he created a lot of fake money using extreme leverage on false collateral that had no value. And then he just bought a bunch of companies, and he was like seen to be like this savior, and he was like buying them on discounts and blah, blah, blah. And this was kind of like, I guess, post Luna. Maybe this was in the wake of that last collapse. You can figure out the timelines, but he did go on a shopping spree. And so there is a risk that other companies depend on FTX are going to go bankrupt, a la BlockFi. Although in that case, it seems like they might be fucked as well. It's going to be hard. I don't think first of all, the question that all the customers are wondering now is about recovery. They want to know how much they're going to recover. We can look at Mt. Gox. It took years and they got back very little. Now, some people did get back like a meaningful percentage, I guess. But for sure it took years. And I think could only take longer. I don't really know. But 20% would be an impressive number to recover. 10% would even be impressive. I don't know. This guy nuked himself through high leverage derivative trading in a collapsing market. And it's one thing for like a guy not to know that. It's another thing for like the CEO of $1 billion fucking company not to know that. And so Sam Bankman-Fried is a freed fucking fraud. And the fact that he is being given any airtime is like, it almost just shows you the roots of corruption. So what's the relationship between whoever runs things at CNBC and the war in Ukraine and the Bahamas and the Democratic Party and FTX and probably 3 others in there? Okay, so there's some work for the conspiracy theorists. You got your work cut out for you on that one. So what's the topic of this video anyway? I think I wanted talk about a few other things. Oh yeah, Kanye, that guy just needs somebody to tell him no. He needs a friend that is looking out for his interests, a trusted advisor. But how can you ever have a trusted advisor? Because you don't trust anyone. So and you shouldn't, because you've been burned so many times. So I think Kanye is just an unfortunate casualty of our time. They're probably going to take a lot of pleasure in ripping down somebody who was seen to be so arrogant. And, it's a lesson to everyone. Don't say that I can say anti-Semitic things and Adidas won't drop me. Well, they have to drop you. They have no choice but to drop you, right? Although that's the only way they can keep face at all. And the fact that he couldn't see that, and that nobody, it's just, he needs better advisors, but he's not going to get them. And he's going to run with Milo. So Milo's trying to come back for a second act. I guess he got banned last time because he said he did want to diddle kids, or he approved of himself being diddled, I think is, to use the It's Always Sunny phraseology on that one. And then who knows? He went away. Now he's not gay. He's a conservative again. Or I think he flipped 2 sides. I think he's a liberal, but he's straight now. Yeah. And so he's back in the picture, and he's hanging out with Kanye West, and they're going to run for president. And it's just hilarious. It's hilarious what our world has come to, because it used to be a country of ideals, and it used to be, I really do think that people, were patriots, and they really did believe in the things that they were doing for the longest time. They believed it was for their community, and that there really was like a senator, they're serving the country. And you really believe that. You really believe that they weren't just corrupt fucking assholes that were serving their own interests to broker power. And if anything, uh, gridlocking the system, because there's so many problems that could be so easily solved and just aren't addressed because the incentive is not to address them. But whatever. So people have had their spirits broken a little bit in realizing all this stuff. And speaking of spirits broken, let's get back to what was I talking about? Kanye West, Bitcoiners and crypto. Yeah, I think their spirit is going to be broken. I think Kanye West's spirit is going to be broken, and it's going to be a little bit of a hard time in that way. But what was my one other topic that I wanted to talk about? BlockFi. Oh, Elon's Twitter. Yeah, I mean, this Apple censorship is nuts. Like, it's hard because I'm a big fan of Apple as a company, and as obviously Steve Jobs, big fan. All the respect in the world to Apple, but they're definitely a monopoly. And the fact that they can just slice people for 30% off the top, like Spotify, all these different video games, Fortnite, I think. Apple's a monopoly, and the fact that Tim Cook has not addressed that is his fiduciary responsibility. But now is the time to address it, because this is something I saw years ago and foretold, as recorded in an email. I have the receipts for it. It would become necessary for Elon Musk to build a phone. Now we'll see if it really goes that far. I don't know if it's really going to go that far. But with Starlink, you're telling me you're not going to build the world's first sat phone anyway? Come on. Like, that's like a no-brainer. And so we're going to get either a SpaceX phone or a Tesla phone. We're going to get Musk right up to our, and that is going to be good, because we have this duopoly with Google um, and Apple in terms of like Android and iOS, the two big platforms. And Microsoft, for whatever reason, couldn't get their Zune going. They couldn't figure it out. But we do need a third player. And if anyone's going to break into just some new industry, it's going to be Elon Musk. And of course, he is accruing so many good people around him. And all those great advisors are going to be able to figure out how to use all of the shared understanding of all their companies and all their competencies to create an amazing new product. And it's going to be the Tesla phone. So that'll be cool when that happens. But for now, like, Apple has pulled out of their advertising in Twitter, and it's pretty crazy. It does seem like they're kind of going to war against Elon Musk a little bit and against Twitter. And I understand they're being pushed back against Elon Musk because he really is the man with no limits. And he's been proven to have no limits on him, more than anyone. Honestly, it's incredible. He really has such true power. And it's incredible to see what he's been able to do with it. Not within himself necessarily. Anyway, it's all, you know what I'm saying? Like, his power is as a business magnet, as a tycoon. And so I have no doubt that he's going to be able to make Twitter successful. He's going to triple the daily actives. And then he's already said he's going to bring back Vine, which was the original TikTok. The original player in short form video was actually Snap. Holla, what's up, Snap? But then it was Vine, and Twitter acquired Vine to shut him down instead of just like integrating their technology, idiots. And now Elon Musk might revive Vine from the grave, which would be pretty cool. And he's also talked about doing like high rev share with content creators, which I would greatly appreciate, because right now the only place that you can really make a living as a creator is YouTube. And as much as I love YouTube, I love diversity and competition. And so, and just stability in having, multiple platforms that are great options. And so we'll see how long it takes, but I'd say, maybe 3 years, and it'll be a whole new Twitter. It's not going anywhere. It's not going bankrupt. Even if all the advertisers pull out, like, he's unstoppable at this point. You guys can't stop him. And as much as you'd like to, you can't stop him. It's happening regardless. Even if he wanted to stop it, maybe he couldn't even stop it. It's crazy how much momentum there is. And so yeah, that's I guess everything I wanted to say. Kanye West, good luck to you running for president. I don't think that's going to last very long. And people are just going to disrespect him and make him feel like shit. And I think that he's not very well understood because he comes off like such a goober. Um, I don't know, however you think he comes off. And I don't think he's coming off in a way that people will give him the respect that he deserves. And so that's, I don't know what is going to happen to Kanye West. I really have no idea. I have no idea. Maybe he'll be fine. He should definitely stop hating on Jews, right? Although I really would love to get to the bottom of why. That's another question I have with Kanye West. It's getting a little long in the tooth. But with Kanye West, I want to know why he has this issue with Jews. Like, what the fuck is their problem? Or what is the problem? Like, seriously, what is the problem? I don't think he's just making up that he's like had this insanely terrible experience. I don't think it's just a lie. I think he's feeling something genuine and he's trying to communicate it, and he's doing it in the worst way humanly possible. There's like, if you designed a study to try to figure out what's the worst way you could do it, this would be the result. And so stop being an anti-Semite. It's not about the religion. You're probably just getting fucked with by one group or whatever. I would love to know more about why he hates or why he has these problems that he has. And Twitter's going to be fine. It's going to be fun. He's going to do great. But it might be a war to get there. And it'll be epic if Apple escalates and actually pulls them off. Because this is another thing I've always said, how insane it is, the power of Apple and Google in their duopoly. They invented Uber, Snapchat. Like these are apps on Apple. You don't get Snapchat without Apple. Think about that. It's not possible. One depends entirely upon the other. And Facebook is the exact same thing. The entire Facebook is built upon Apple. And we've gotten to this really weird place as a society, not as a society, in our capitalistic structure of production, where you have one company that's like clearly worth like $10 trillion. And we don't really want to know what to do with it because it's like a monopoly, but we kind of like it to be a monopoly because it's so fucking awesome. So what Apple really needs to do is more self-governance. Stop with you can't just slice people for 30%. 30%. First of all, you've had that incredible tax. Your government has enjoyed a wealthy tax upon the land for many years. Now it is time to return to the people the production of their land. And that's what's fair and right to do. Just as we did in society, you should do that now. And also Tesla should compete with them to create a third option. And so should Microsoft. I mean, honestly, like, how hard can phones be now? I could see, like, it seems like we have a lot of people that have built up a lot of muscle around manufacturing devices. And those people could be put to good use in creating a third platform that can compete with Apple and Google and support free speech. And so Elon Musk, he's great. He's a great guy. And he should keep doing everything he's doing. Let me go back to the title. BlockFi, Chapter 11. Yeah, no recovery. I don't think anyone's getting anything back. If you do, it'll take years. Everyone's fucked. And that's why their crypto's going to have such a hard time. But if you're a true believer in crypto, this could never be a better time in, I think, a little while longer. Basically, we need to have clarity on FTX contagion in order to understand how low the price of Bitcoin is going to go. And if we see a ton of deep contagion, as in like a lot of companies related to FTX start to fail over the next 6 to 18 months, then I, of course, think that we could break well below 10,000, maybe well below 5,000, because I never would have imagined how much leverage was in the system until all this happened, and it just makes so much sense that there would be, and it also makes sense to me that there still would be a lot of leverage in the system. But if there isn't, and I'm wrong about that, then we probably maybe will create a base around here and climb back up slowly. But I think it'll very much match people's memories, which will be long, and the sentiment, and they're going to have to rebuild trust, and they're going to need more to rebuild trust than these proof of reserves mechanisms. Like that's like an emergency bandage on the wound. To rebuild trust, you need transparency. You need a podcast. Coinbase, hire me to produce your podcast. uh, any crypto tech company, that'd be really cool, that'd be really fun. I think I'd be really good at it. And um and so, but yeah, they got to rebuild trust. And the way to do that is through transparency and self regulation and working with the government and regulating in that regard. And you basically need some way to cryptographically prove that a customer's funds are safe and accounted for. Like, hey, if ever there was a use for blockchain, build an accounting mechanism for it, right? So that customers can know based off of like the same level of security and understanding of the protocols or network or whatever, of crypto, that their funds are secure and not being leveraged to do crazy trading with. Solve that problem with crypto, and that'll build some trust. But I think it's a big problem. It's going to take years, and then we'll get the global coin or whatever, world coin, whatever you want to call it, and then we'll all be united as one. So until that happens, thanks for hanging out. Nobody joined the fucking stream. It was just 36 minutes of me talking into a camera, but I'm still going to put it on YouTube because why not? Have a good night.